Ukraine is gearing up for a counteroffensive. The defense minister there is saying that preparations are almost complete. And according to NATO, Ukraine's allies have delivered 98% of the combat vehicles they promised. Nick Payton-Walsh is live in Zaporizhia in southern Ukraine now. So, Nick, preparations nearly complete. What's the very latest there?
Yeah, interesting comments this morning from Ukraine's defense minister, Oleksii Reznikov, saying that preparations for the counter-offensive are coming to an end. And he goes on to say, in a global sense, we are ready in a high percentage mode. The next question is up to the general staff. And as soon as it's God's will, the weather, it's been raining pretty badly on off here for the past 2 weeks, and the commander's decision, we will do it. Now, this is from a government who have, over the past 2 weeks, been quite clear they're not going to give us sort of a starting bugle or an indication as to when they decide to start this counter-offensive, and made it absolutely clear, too, that secrecy is of a high imperative. That's even been echoed by US military officials who say they've assisted in training to make this, quote, a surprise attack. So it is interesting to hear this sort of detailed discussion about readiness, about whose decision it is, about when that particular decision may indeed come. And we saw on the front line ourselves a growing sense of anticipation, if not even movement, suggesting the counter-offensive is imminent, if not possibly seeing its opening stages.
Spring is here after winter's frozen horror, and the buzz and sting of Ukraine's looming counter-offensive is growing. Aiming at Russian positions, within 30 seconds, the Ukrainian unit has moved away. It may be a precise operation, but the Russian response is not. Slamming into the nearby town, edging closer to us.
Impossible to tell what the Russians are trying to hit, but another example of the intense bombardment, their bid to stop the counter-offensive from starting.
It is ordinary civilians caught in the rising dust behind us who bear the brunt of Russia's frustrated rage. Along and around the brutalized towns where Ukraine says it may launch its attack, there are more signs it is underway, lurking in the foliage, than Ukraine has given publicly. That's because Ukraine has said nothing at all about when, where or how it will attack. But among machine gun fire in the nearby trenches are drone operators hidden in the rubble. The detailed, intimate picture they have of their enemy just 2 fields away is startling. Watching and trying to kill each other every hour. They've noticed the Russians pulling back.
Сомневаюсь, что с этими всеми звуками там сильно его услышишь. Они поумнели, они все отошли назад. Типа тут какой-либо тяжелой техники или чего-то такого нет. Иногда замечался такой профессионализм, что они очень четко брали дрон антидроновой пушкой. В итоге дрон останавливался, и они со всего, что могли, расстреливали его.
Another drone team has seen the Russians, also left defending ruins, ridden by chaos in their ranks.
Часто между собой перестреливаются. Бьются между собой тоже. Живут как у себя дома. Вертолетик может по ним стрельнуть, так же само свой же ихний вертолетик, стрекоза называется, может по своим ударить.
It won't be long until that cunning or chaos meets a decisive test in this flat, open and perilous space.
Now, the real issue, obviously, for Ukraine here is the speed in which it can achieve some strategic success here. Because the Russians, while you heard there of their ineptitude, and we've seen it well over the last year or so, have been able to bring mass to this particular area, the South Zaporizhia area, which many think is any target for Ukraine's counter-offensive. They've dug trenches, they've sent a lot of people to those areas, and so some analysis thinks that if Ukraine gets bogged down in a war of attrition along that long defensive line, it could potentially find success much harder to reach. Its potential for victory here is to move fast, and we've heard a lot of pinpoint strikes over the past week or so, particularly high-value Russian targets. Yesterday, a lot in Novokhovka, some in Melitopol as well. And that, many I think, assess is a way of trying to soften up Russia's defences here. Quite what else may be happening as we hear this increased drumbeat towards Ukraine beginning this counter-offensive is unclear. But as I say, it's up to Kiev really to show to its Western partners here who've supplied training, weaponry, financing for a counter-offensive Kiev and so much of NATO want to see to be decisive, to be able to affect something relatively quickly and not get caught in a long war of attrition that ultimately may play into the blundering sort of mass nature of Russia's force in that area.
That's a great point, Nick, and I would argue a long war that many people don't want to see. Nick Payton-Walsh, live for us there. Thank you.
Ukraine's defense minister, Oleksii Reznikov, has announced that the country's armed forces are nearing the end of their preparations for a counteroffensive against Russian troops.